we see कि उसका
Can you
है.
tell me first, क्या सिचुएशन होगा जहां पर ये टेक्निक हमें यूज करना पड़ेगा? Can you present a situation?
For example, sir, we can take if the fertilizer we are using in organic farm in wheat production, is it good? Is it good for the is it good or not? So we can take this as a situation, and based on that we can derive the hypothesis. What
okay,
we are.
okay,
Yes.
okay. Somebody else had raised his or her hand.
Yes, sir.
Subhranshu, yeah, please.
Sir, in hypothesis testing, we try to assume the population from a given sample.
Okay, okay. Rikita madam, welcome back after ages.
Yes, sir.
So kind of you for joining Subhudi's class. I know that you are very busy. Devasri, what are the question?
So the question was why we do sampling and hypotheses.
Hers, Mahima, give a try, quick, 1 minute.
Can we see that by this testing we get to know that if we consider the example of the vaccination, we can draw a conclusion that how much population of the given, how much percentage of the population given is benefited by consuming that drug, or what is the efficacy rate and all of that.
Good, good. Here another 1 minute max.
So you asked why we do hypothesis testing. So there are 3 reasons. One is we have limited resources, and the population which we are testing is sometimes unknown or inaccessible. Like for example, galaxies and fish in the sea, those are inaccessible and unknown population. And another is when testing is destruction, we have to go for hypothesis testing.
Another.
Yes, sir. Adding to Hia's point, also there could be some errors which we need to find out. The sample might not give us accurate results, so we have to calculate those errors.
Okay, I'm taking over. Thanks all those who have really tried. इससे क्या बोल सकते हैं कि many times we need to know something which we do not know. For that, you have got 2 alternatives. You check, verify each and every object of that case, that target population, or if that is not possible, we test, check, verify a small finite portion and try to draw one conclusion. Hey, kya?
Yes, sir.
We have given so many examples. Bike mileage. Company is telling something. We go for a test. Why should we go for a test? Any quick input, Kamlesh or Chino, in 20 seconds? Why one should go for a test? Because you don't accept. You doubt that. Okay. So when you want to verify, maybe like inquisitiveness, we want to know, itna chalega? Chalo verify karte hain. So you take a sample, right? Missile. Unfortunately, there is disturbance. Okay, in northern hemisphere, I don't know what where we are heading at. So you have got several missiles. Unfortunately, there is a mad rat race. Kiske paas hai deadliest missiles? Deadliest missile means what? Kamlesh, Vishwajit, Devasri. How much it can
destruction,
destroy,
impact, the impact of missile.
Suppose they are deliberately till yesterday, they were not targeting civilizations or say crowded cities. They were targeting to pinpointed targets. Whether it is hitting that particular target or not, whether it is traveling that kilometer or not. So you have to test it. If you expect that it is traveling 30 kilometers, 300 kilometers, 3000 kilometers missile, you are testing it. Okay. Another was suggesting if you are testing everything, all missiles are destroyed and nothing left for the world. Okay. So you test, verify, and draw a conclusion to know which you were not knowing. Right? So
Yes,
that's what the purpose, objective of testing of hypothesis. Am I right? Now, Jadatar, in the test that we have studied or known, if I classify, if you recall, we might have done a test called checking whether dono barabar hai nahi. When I'm just telling dono barabar hai nahi, what particular test I'm aiming at referring to?
Null hypothesis.
So null hypothesis.
Null hypothesis हर एक में होगा. Mean difference test. I'm just telling दोनों बराबर है या नहीं, girls and boys, whether they are equally efficient or not. I wanted to test, and I have particularly taken that example in last semester. Okay, so the average efficiency of boys, average efficiency of girls, if you are comparing whether they are equal or not equal, then comes null hypothesis. So I am selecting a test, mean difference test, which you have covered as t-test. You remember, in the numerator,
Yes, sir.
you had either a sample mean vis-a-vis population mean or two samples mean. Okay, that t-test. And one type of test, दोनों में कोई dependence है या नहीं, दोनों में कोई association है या नहीं. You
chi-square.
remember that? Chi-square. Very good. So when I'm presenting a case, you should know कि अगर ये जानना चाहते हो, if you want to test this particular test will be applied. Okay. So now going back to that, when we have the case of testing two samples, two groups, two cases, whether they are similar or different, we had t-test.
T-test.
But when we are to test more than two cases, in that case, t-test will not be that effective, efficient.
Z-test will be.
No, Z-test is also large sample test, similar to t-test. Will be going for ANOVA, which we are going to discuss today. So the purpose of introducing this through a quick recap of what we have done in the last semester, that was my purpose. Okay, so I think having discussed that, this discussion will carry meaning and it will be more meaningful. Hope my screen is visible. End of the session, I'll share this PPT, don't worry. So this is again, you will be trying to understand कि यार भाई हाँ ये हमने डिस्कस कर चुके हैं, bit of similar to multiple regression computer output, बाद में डिस्कस करेंगे, ठीक है? So here you go. Today we'll try to discuss a new technique which is known as ANOVA, or full form is analysis of variance. Okay. Now, as I was suggesting, when we are to test more than two groups, two samples, or more than two sample means in particular, we have to use ANOVA. Okay, ANOVA stands for analysis of variance. उनमें जो variations है बराबर है या quite wide apart variations दिख रहा है, so that will be tested. ANOVA कहाँ यूज होता है? So I'll be just giving few examples. Say, for example, you wanted to know you've got different brands of engine oil, and if you are comparing for a mileage factor, whether it's like giving equal mileage or different mileage. Okay, so when you have got more than 3 brands, 4 brands, 5 brands, so then ANOVA we have to apply. Okay, so for example, second example here, training programs. You have got different methods, and which is more effective. And if you want to compare the learning record, whether the impact of training programs, and if you have got more than 2 different training programs, then not t-test but ANOVA will apply. I would ask you all to mark the third example, because we'll be repeating that example in the next slides. Suppose in a region, you think these B schools are at par, okay? And what about the placements? How they get? Is there any like huge difference or almost barabar unis base kind of thing? Okay. So in those cases, if you have got more than 2 B schools for comparison, then again you have to go for ANOVA. Okay. Bhavna, can you summarize what we have told, introduced about the application use of ANOVA till now?
ANOVA is used when we can compare the means of more than 2 samples. It is the analysis of variance.
That's it.
It is
If it is a case of comparing 2 groups, 2 samples, go for t-test. If it is more than 2, go for ANOVA. Simple. Okay. Objective question, objective answer. Sai sun raha hai, nahi sun raha hai. Okay.
Objective question, objective answer.
हाँ, किसके लिए?
Sir, test के लिए sir.
के लिए, आज क्विज के लिए. Okay. Now the usual test procedure ANOVA में, जैसे हमारा hypothesis होता था, Chino, will also have null versus alternative hypothesis. Usually, what we do in null hypothesis, Kamlesh?
All the means are like equal.
There is no difference.
No difference.
Barabar, equal. So earlier you had mu1 equal to mu2. Now here you have got mu1 equals to mu2 equals to mu3. If you have got 3 samples, if you have got 4 samples, you know, equals to mu4, right? That way you can extend it. Fine. And what would be the alternative hypothesis, Kamlesh? Quick. They are not equal.
They are not equal.
Okay. So first we have to define what is the null and alternative hypothesis. Okay. Then very simple. This particular discussion what we will be having, don't worry. Detailed calculation will not be there. Only short questions will be there. And try to listen to me carefully. And here, as I just emphasize on the variation among cases, among samples, whether it is equal or significantly different. Okay. So please remember, here you have to compare 2 types of variations. When I'm repeating variations, how variations are measured? You know, have you studied anything in any formula technique to measure, quantify variations? You know,
Like
variance लिखा हुआ है इधर, standard
variance,
deviation variance, ठीक है?
variance.
तो कितना variation है? So one of the common standard formula is standard deviation or variance. यहाँ लिखा हुआ ना? So now, for example, B school 1, B school 2, B school 3, B school 4. Okay. So when you're comparing the CTC, okay, for different students of different B schools, are you able to think, visualize? There could be 2 types of variations: inter and intra. Kamlesh, can you guess and elaborate what could be inter and intra?
So inter can be different B schools.
Across B schools. Okay.
And
Intra means
intra can be
in the
within-
same B school
within
also.
the
Say for
same B
example,
school.
our B school. Some are getting very higher CTC and some are getting average or below average CTC. Hope you agree with me. So here, please remember, ANOVA deals with two types of standard deviation, two types of variance. Please remember this much concept you need to remember. Okay, moving forward. So these are the steps. First, determine the variance among sample means, that is between sample means. Second, compute the variance within sample means, within the sample, and then compare. How it is compared? Very simple. Now, as you might have used in semester 1 testing of hypothesis, when you are finding sample standard deviation, for each sample, we have to find sigma by root n. Again, I'm just suggesting you, don't worry, don't bother about the formula. No computation, no calculation will be asked in exam. Just theory, just try to listen to me. Moving forward, now these are the steps. First, as I told, you find two variants. Say I'll be naming sigma 1 square and sigma 2 square. Better you remember this. So F is a formula like your T and chi square. This much all of you write. F test equals to one variance divided by second variance. Sigma 1 square, sigma 2 square. This much you can remember. So this variance ratio is called F statistic, not statistics. Like T table, like chi square table, we also have F table. Jo ye milega, this ratio will be calling what, Chino? This will be called calculated value. जैसे हमने किए थे last semester में T test, chi square test, this you can find using formula, but will not be asking in exam because we will be using computer program that we are going to discuss. Okay, and this variance ratio, what we will be finding, that is called calculated value, and this calculated value will be compared with tabulated value at certain level of significance, 1%, 5%, or whatever asked in the exam. So how do we draw conclusion? जैसे हमने किए थे, if calculated value is less than tabulated value,
we will accept the
we'll accept, and if it's higher, we reject. Jyoti, you had a question?
No, sir, I was telling that conclusion part.
Okay. So F table is there, and just one point you remember. Listen to me, just easy, simple. I have already clarified. Detailed computation will not be there, but it could be descriptive or objective question type, whatever we are discussing today. And this much you remember, कि F formula है क्या? This is nothing but variance ratio. First variance divided by second variance. Okay, and we compare with the F table. But one point you remember, T table में, chi-square table में, you had only concept of 1 degree of freedom. Here we will be using 2 degrees of freedom. One for numerator, another for
denominator.
First variance, second variance. So we'll be using 2 degrees of freedom. This much you remember, and this is what the formula which we have already discussed. Okay, one is between, one is within. Between का मतलब क्या? Inter या intra?
Sir, between inter.
So आप लोग, अरे नहीं, ऊपर है
inter
और divided by intra.
Yes, sir.
So you can write that inter variation divided by intra variation. ये दोनों word को clarify yourself, right? Now there could be again classification of ANOVA. one way, two way, okay? And further we can have discussion later. Don't worry much. I'll be concluding today's session with the distinction between one way, two way. Now I'll be just showing you how we calculate either using Excel or SPSS, okay? So just this PPT I'll be sharing. And here, if you're using Excel, this is the command. जैसे हमने multiple regression किए थे in Excel, that is there in your data analysis command, and you just apply ANOVA single factor, and suppose data you are entering like this, okay? And one thing here, can you mark? All groups may not have equal sample size, okay? So suppose XIM Bhubaneswar, KSM KIT, number of students studying now would vary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that will be N1, N2, N3, ऐसे करके हो सकता है. So this is the difference you may find. And this is the command, don't worry, we'll be doing it in practical demo. I'm showing you whether you are using Excel or SPSS. You can self-learn if you are interested. जैसे हमने किए थे. And input range, I think we had discussed. Then you press OK, and you have output like this. This PPT I'll be sending you. Now, looking at this output, here I hope you attended my last class when we did multiple regression using Excel. इस type का हमने output पाए थे.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And can you help us how to read this output? What are the components which are important?
Sir, there are 4 groups: northern, eastern, western, and southern. So we can see
what is my question? What is my question?
How we can read.
How we can read
The
means
p-value is
Which are the important values?
p-value is
So
important.
p-value is important. Yeah.
P-value and sir variance also.
हाँ, चिन्ह बोल एक एक करके.
P-value is
Which are
important.
those important key factors we have to look. What are those key factors? एक एक करके बोल चिन्ह.
So p-value, R-square value.
कौन सा p-value?
So ये ANOVA
हो गया क्या?
नहीं सर, वो जो ANOVA में जो p-value
अरे
है.
फाइनल p-value होता है, इंडिविजुअल
Final
p-value होता है. p-value तो different p-values you will be getting ना.
सर ठीक है.
हाँ बोल ना. तो मॉडल का फाइनल p-value को देखना है, R स्क्वायर को देखना है, इंडिविजुअल फैक्टर का p-value देखना है, और क्या?
Coefficient of
यस, और क्या?
and
The degrees of freedom.
यस, डाटा जो बोल रहा है. So how do we understand कि
N-1 is given as 59 and should be 59 plus 160.
Okay, so these are the key elements you should first look and get it from the computer output. Okay, the same thing you can use SPSS. Okay, similar, quite similar, and the output will be similar. And in two-way ANOVA, just you select ANOVA 2 factors. So this is the only difference you will be finding, and this is important. From this slide number 10, listen to me. Are you able to see the left-hand side? What is written there in the equation? First,
Y cap.
Very good. What is cap?
Sir, that is y value.
No.
normal sir.
Sir, expected y value.
This is what you are trying to predict or estimate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, which, see, what is the role of regression model, regression equation? ये जो है right hand side coefficients you estimate and you predict for the future.
Yes, sir.
So prediction
And you
of
are
the
not sure. And you are not sure. Okay. So another, can you just guess and try what could be the difference between y cap and y? What is y and y cap? I think we have already discussed now. Can you guess and try?
So why is only the we are calculating the dependent
What is
variable?
y? Give an example. Will you permit me to take over?
Yes, sir.
Okay. मान लो कि we want to forecast कि next month how much rainfall will happen, amount of rainfall. ठीक है? Rainfall का prediction होता है नहीं होता है?
Yes, sir.
So when you are predicting this, you are telling few days before, right? For a particular day, or particular week, or particular month. Okay. That day, you measure how much of rainfall happened. Okay.
Yes,
so this is the actual value. And this is what you had estimated. Okay. Just say, for example, this year, how much will be the paddy production? Estimate होता है नहीं होता है हर्ष?
Yes, sir.
So, if you estimate much in advance, like cyclone wind speed, okay? हर्ष ने बताया था कि ये 100 किलोमीटर का स्पीड होगा, लेकिन it became 250 kilometers. Okay, so always people would try to judge your model कि how much is the difference between these two.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Lesser the difference.
If it is very close to zero, which will be calling as epsilon. Zero तो कभी नहीं हो सकता है. Then we'll be calling this model is most efficient model. Okay, so all of you please remember the difference between y and y cap. And this is what I was suggesting. The difference between this y and y cap should be very, very minimum. And that's why we derive this regression coefficient by which method? First,
multiple
B1, B2, B3. Anybody? Any volunteer, Jyoti?
Sir, multiple regression.
अरे multiple regression तो हम discuss कर रहे हैं. Method of least square. सुना है कभी नहीं सुना है?
Yes, sir.
Least square means what, Jyoti? सो गया पल्लाकुंडी महाराजा. वो ज्योति गांव चला गया. सुख खाऊची रिपोजिटी. Bhavna? Any volunteer? Another?
The minimi
Least square means the deviation between what you are estimating or finding and what is happening. It is the least.
Least.
Okay, जो maximum minimum property है ना, उसको apply करते हुए we try to derive this. That was the objective. Okay, so this is the basic purpose.
Sir.
Yeah, बोल.
Sir, ये जो डिफरेंस है एक्चुअल एंड एस्टिमेटेड का, तो सर ये तो तभी हम एस्टिमेट कर पाएंगे ना जब एक्चुअल वैल्यू मेरे पास रहेगा. फॉर एग्जांपल उस दिन का
वही तो बोल रहे हैं ना.
हाँ, सो तो
y is actual data.
So sir, we have to wait for that day when the rain will happen.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
So sir, मतलब कुछ मॉडल जो हम लोग को फॉर एग्जांपल अभी आज के दिन मैंने मेजर कर लिया एंड नेक्स्ट वाला मेरे को मेजर करना है कि नेक्स्ट थर्सडे इतना रेन होगा. सो हम लोग प्रीवियस डेटा के साथ इसको मेजर नहीं कर सकते, लाइक कि इतना नेक्स्ट वीक का एस्टिमेटेड इतना है. जैसे आज जो मैंने किया वो राइट एस्टिमेट आया, तो नेक्स्ट वीक का अगर मेरे को करना है इन फ्यूचर, सो उस बेसिस पे मेरे को उस दिन के लिए वेट करना होगा. सो इस केस में कैसे करेंगे? ये तो चैलेंज है ना सर.
Another, are you getting the question of hers? कोई मुझे बता पाएगा क्वेश्चन क्या है? Another Chino here.
इन शॉर्ट हर्ट्स प्रेडिक्ट करना चाह रहा है कि कल बारिश हो या नहीं होगा, और
हाँ।
वो पास्ट डेटा से रिलेट कर रहा है सर।
अरे पास्ट डाटा से कैसे होगा, ये थोड़ी होता है। सो
सर ये अनएक्सपेक्टेड है।
व्हाट आर द फैक्टर्स?
मतलब सर मतलब इन शॉर्ट अगर पिछले साल अगर
इज इट से फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिया का पॉपुलेशन कितना है, किट में कितने बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं, ये फैक्टर हो सकता है, नहीं हो सकता है बारिश के लिए? हर्ष,
ये सर कैसे होगा सर?
वही तो बोल ना, तो जो बढ़िया सा फैक्टर चूज करना पड़ेगा ना, जैसे ह्यूमिडिटी, प्रेशर, सो क्या क्या फैक्टर है। ओके, सो द choosing the factor is most critical, not getting the past data. जैसे जो प्रेडिक्शन होता है, मैंने बताया था शायद, इफ यू रिमेम्बर, साइक्लोन स्पीड वाइड वेरीज फ्रॉम एजेंसी टू एजेंसी। यू रिकॉल कि यूएस नेवी का प्रेडिक्शन, इंडियन मेट्रोलॉजिकल डिपार्टमेंट प्रेडिक्शन, जापानीज एजेंसी प्रेडिक्शन, हर एक का कुछ अलग अलग होता है। क्यों होता है? According to them, they give priority weightage to some factors.
Yes sir.
Okay, so that is more important, and based on that they go for data collection.
Got it sir. Yes sir.
Am I answering you?
Yes sir.
Right.
Understood.
So this is what least square and the deviation is minimum. Another जो हम बोल रहे थे, is that clear? And if you got K groups, KB schools, K samples, then ये सारे जो estimate है, final estimate, इसका standard error, this will be divided by n minus k minus 1. What is k? चिन्हो अभी मैंने बोला, सुन रहा था या व्हाट्सएप कर रहा था?
Sir, we have k number of B schools.
Samples. How many samples? Yeah. Okay, so that you have to remember. How many fertilizers? How many training methods? Okay, those are the k. And what is n? Total sample. Total sample. Okay. Now this is what you need to note down, and I'll be giving you very soon this PPT. Don't worry. I think you can see here. This is cap, y cap. Okay. This is y cap. Second one is y cap. Right. Moving ahead, the inference and interpretation of output. This is more important, and that should be part of your exam-oriented syllabus. We have already discussed in last two sessions the role, importance of small r square and capital R square. Vishwajit Soibugre, roll number 34, Maharaja.
No, sir.
What is my question?
Sir, what is R square, capital small R square, and what is capital R square?
So answer should be given by you or somebody else. Mahima, Devasri, Anissa.
Sir, coefficient of correlation is small r, and I guess that bivariate is capital R. Multivariate is capital R. Doing multivariate.
What is R square?
Coefficient of determination.
Yes. What is the simplest meaning of coefficient of determination? Gopi Kumar, you are listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Question bol to answer bol. Question या answer.
Difference between R square and capital R square. And
train छूट गई, आगे हम.
And what is
नहीं सुन रहा था. What is the role of R square or definition of R square? Madhusmita, रोषाई करू चुके रहे. एडवांटेज ऑफ ऑनलाइन क्लास हो, इसीलिए नहीं आ रहे हो कैंपस.
सर
कोई खाना बना रहा है, विश्वजीत कुछ पोएट्री लिख रहा है, साई सब्जी के लिए बाहर जा रहा है। भावना,
सर
all of you switch on video, except those who do not, those who are facing network issue. All of you switch on video. Madhusmita, I will mark you absent. You are not attending my class. Rasmi, roll number 57. What is the role of R square?
Sir, it helps to determine how one is dependent on other.
How much it contributes, how much amount, please remember. And in that sense, Tushari, what is the role of capital R square?
So it helps us to check the accuracy.
What accuracy? If you write this, will you get mark?
Sir, it helps to check the variance. Sir.
Total.
Accuracies of the variance.
Total all independent variables, all factors taken together. Mila ke, how much they contribute to Y. Okay. How much variation they explain together in total of Y. Am I making sense? Subhanshu Das, can you give one simple example to explain this capital R square concept? Subhanshu Das, then Pallavi, then Siddhi, get ready. Siddhi, your poetry writing is over. Subhanshu, get ready. Jaldi bol.
Yes, sir.
Pallavi, take over. भाग गई पल्लवी। सिद्धि, अरे पार्टिसिपेट करो रे। साई बोल रहे। क्या यार? Any volunteer?
Sir, it determines like how much variation is there in the dependent values, like that is affected by the independent variables.
Yes, all independent factors together, how much they contribute to the variation of dependent variable. Siddhi, quote my last sentence. Going above head, 4 or 5 feet above your head. Quote my last sentence. Siddhi is very sure, पक्का, कि ऑप्शंस आएंगे, ये क्वेश्चन नहीं तो दूसरा क्वेश्चन मैं ही करूंगा. दिस इज आउट ऑफ सिलेबस क्वेश्चन. ये है ना. So this is important, R square, and this you need not worry much. Again, I'll be telling you, competition will not be there in your exam, but please remember, the major factor in ANOVA will be calling it, taking it, and understanding as treatment factor. Repeat, factor. Say, for example, students' intelligence and CTC. जो company selection होता है, if we think, if student is good, he or she gets better package. If we believe that, if that is our hypothesis. So that will be considered, taken and understood as treatment. Okay. And that treatment is to be understood further as sum total of two variations, one within and between, inter and intra. ये जो last sentence, please remember, this you have to remember. Now I'll be showing you the computer output. Please recall this. And this is again, K is the number of factors. Okay. And if you divide some sum of square, S stands for sum of square. All of you can please write. And if you divide sum of square by degrees of freedom, this is called mean sum of square, and this is nothing but your variance. Okay. And this sum of square is nothing but this summation of x minus x bar square. So if you divide some divisor here, then it will be mean sum of square. Okay. So this concept, just try to understand. This will not be asked in exam, but you should remember how to interpret, how to understand कि ये value कैसे मिला. Now please look at here. Another, if you remember in the last slide, source of variation. It could be regression, it could be natural. Suppose Harsh and Chinu both are equally intelligent. Can we guarantee that they will be getting exactly the same CTC? If you remember, even say 5 fingers of a same person, it's different. Children of same parents, their intelligence level, even also height, may not be exactly equal. So, Joe, that is some natural variation. That is called error. Okay. Now, this is sum of square column. This is degrees of freedom column. Now, what I was just telling, this mean sum of square, how we were getting another, if you remember, how we get MS.
Summation of y minus y1
by degrees of freedom.
So if you divide 26.44 by 1, you will get this. 2 point something by this, you get this. Okay. Now guess and tell. Jyoti first. Your audio is now okay, Jyoti?
Yes, sir.
ये 87.61 कैसे मिलेगा Jyoti? Guess कर बता. You are mathematics expert. Anybody who can try, tell me, will get not 1.
Variance 1 square divided by variance 2 square.
Sorry?
Variance 1 square divided by variance 2.
You are theory professor Jyotirmoy. Anybody else? Mark nahi milega aaj. Anybody who can tell me how this 87 has come?
Inter-column by intra-column.
Value to bata, Devjit, to milega mark.
Sir, 26.44
स्क्वायर को डिवाइड करके
Wow. Trusali ko milega, Mahima ko milega 1. This divided by this. This is variance 1 square. This is variance 2 square. Okay. So while looking at SPSS output, you should understand कि ये कैसे हो रहा है. ठीक है. Now this is a value. Manual method में this will be called what? Harsh? अरे कोई तो बोलो another
Calculated
value. This is calculated value. And this is to be compared with tabulated value.
Tabulated value.
और ये कंप्यूटर आउटपुट वो कंपेयर करके रेफर करके बोलता है. ठीक है. So it does lot of work for us. We are not making any calculation. So try to understand how we have arrived at this. Okay. And this is, suppose you have taken 1 factor here. Here you have taken 2 factors here.
2 factors.
So you can try to differentiate between the two, but this calculation will be similar, right? I think you recall this output. Had we discussed this?
Yes, sir.
हमने किए थे नहीं किए थे?
Yes, sir.
So how to interpret this? First, Vishwajit, 34.
Sir, the value of P is it less than
The
final value of
final P.
the final value of P, yes, sir.
So
Is it less than 0.05?
तो इससे क्या पता चलता है?
Sir, significant. The
regression model is significant.
Model is
that
significant.
convention. Second point, another.
So we'll see the R squared, that is 92.6%,
Very good.
which is
Second point.
very.
Mahima, third point.
So the
Anything else we should read from this?
So the individual p-value.
p-values.
Individual p-values you have to find. So how do you interpret this? Kamlesh, jaldi bol.
5% से अगर कम होता है
हाँ, कौन सा इंडिपेंडेंट सिग्निफिकेंट दिख रहा है?
Sir, सिर्फ mechanical वाला insignificant है, बाकी
वाला
सब
insignificant.
Abstract and math are significant.
Yes. What else? Chino?
So coefficients, sir.
Yes, we have to find this. Okay. So this is how computer output should not be difficult for you. If you get one output like this, related questions you can find. Now, no prompting. I'll ask to those who have not switched on video. Abhishek Mishra, you are attending?
Yes, sir.
How many sample data they have put in computer and they have got this output? Is my question clear?
Sir, can you please repeat, sir?
Simple. What is the sample size? How many data points they use to get this? No prompting.
So 4.
Very good. Sai, iska roll number note kar rahe. -3 dal. I'm serious today. 4. Pradyut Chandra. Pradyut, you are there?
Yes, sir.
What is the question?
So, how many data sample size of a data sample?
Bol answer. क्या कर रहे हो यार?
5.
Pallavi Lenka, you are there, Pallavi?
Yes, sir.
Answer.
Sir, 24.
Shoaib Parvez, are you attending? Shoaib? Shoaib, you are absent today. Harsh Katyan, ये सेक्शन में 2 हर्ष है, सारे क्वेश्चन जाता है हर्ष को. हर्ष कतन, यू आर देयर?
यस सर.
कहाँ पर हो? बाजार में हो?
यस सर, एक्चुअली गांव में है सर.
हाँ, बढ़िया बढ़िया, वही बेटर है. पूजा साहा?
यस सर.
व्हाट इज आंसर? डोंट से यस सर. आंसर बोल, नहीं तो पास.
सर 5.
अरे यार क्या करूं. अविनाश, रोल नंबर 6.
Sir, 5.
अरे यार. आकाश साहू?
Sir, 5 होगा.
अनुराधा, मैं क्या करूं?
Sir, 25.
25 होगा सर.
ये लोग को बोल रहे क्या करें ये लोग?
And my degrees of freedom are
Degree of
total
freedom is calculated
24.
n minus
And
1, so the sample
हाँ.
size is
कितने किए थे चिन्हो?
n plus 1.
Yes, sir.
N
Degree of
is
freedom
equals
is
to
equal to n minus 1. So
D
it
plus
is
B.
equal to 24 plus 1, that is equal to 25.
अरे इजी क्वेश्चन नहीं बोलोगे तो फिर क्या होगा? So this is what we need to note carefully, and using the coefficient, you may be asked to write the regression equation. I hope you should all be able to answer this. Okay. Now, this is what we had done earlier. I'm sorry that many of you are not able to respond. And I'll be closing today, just telling you what is the difference between one way and two way. As I was telling you, this is very simple. Just remember, in one way, measure factor is 1, and two way, we have got measure factor 2. Just remember this. One way testing, example, say for example, athletes. Suppose we are thinking a good, comfortable shoe, is it helping significantly the athletes to finish the marathon quickly? Has the brand any role on the completion time? अगर ये हम देख रहे हैं, so that would be one way. And I had asked you to always keep in your mind that B school placement wala example. So there are different B schools, simple, okay? And two-way, what is the difference between in the example number one, which I have mentioned in one way, Chinu? What is the difference between one way, two way? Look to the example number one, given in one way and two way. Can you just try to explain us कि two में क्या speciality है?
सर टू में सर बी स्कूल प्लेसमेंट प्लस एरिया ऑफ स्पेशलाइजेशन को भी देखा जा रहा है, मतलब वी हैव टू।
अरे एग्जांपल वन बोला रे।
ओके सर, एग्जांपल वन मींस for example, if we have data from different B schools, so from that
again B school here.
Sir, in one way, ANOVA, we are only testing the relationship between two variables. One is the brand of the shoe and the finish time of the race. And in two-way ANOVA, there are we are establishing the relationship in more than one variable. Like shoe brand, we are taking with runners, age group, and finishing times in the marathon.
Two-way ANOVA में हम एक और factor
two independent variables.
Okay.
Two factors.
हाँ, so चिनो ये क्लियरली बोलना था। मैंने बोला दो बार एग्जाम्पल वन, तो एग्जाम्पल टू को भाग जा रहा था। ओके, so here we are adding one more factor. Now similarly coming to example 2, can we also think कि specialization का भी कुछ रोल है या नहीं? So we are also considering second factor, right? And ये भी बोले थे कि if you are to compare only two samples, then ANOVA नहीं चाहिए. Very simple. Go for test. जो हमने शुरू किए थे आज. If it is more than two, you have to go for F test. ANOVA. F test.
ANOVA.
Okay. ज्योति बाबू, तो खाइबा सरला करे
सर खाइनी सर नेटवर्क इशू होचा छ
बोलो आउरी गां को पळा से पाला कमेंटरो से पळा आउरी से विचिन्न अंचल को पळा ओके जस्ट समराइज व्हाट वी हैव डन इन ANOVA ANOVA है क्या उसमें करते क्या
ANOVA is generally a statistical
ANOVA means ANOVA and is ANOVA full stop यही बोलना चाहते थे
Those actually it is a statistical tool which is used to find the significance between two or more than two groups involved. If there is only two groups to be defined, then we can go for the T test, and if the number of group is more than two, then we have to go for the ANOVA or F test. What we have come.
Okay. Anybody would like to supplement? Good. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, dear. Anybody would like to supplement? Again, can I request you to please recall and go back to the concept of testing hypothesis. This is also extension of testing hypothesis. Here we have introduced one more test called F test. In F test, we are having nothing but ANOVA or ANOVA test. Okay. Now, again, I would request you, please, while summing up, try to view all tests together and please try to understand before you complete QT course this year कि टेस्टिंग हाइपोथेसिस में होता क्या है, क्यों ये पढ़ते हैं, क्यों करते हैं. Okay, so that is important. If you are clear on that when you are joining a company, particularly in consulting company or market research company, then it will be very clear कि हमें ये apply करना है. Okay? अनन्या भट्टाचार्य, तो आज तक बोली नहीं अनन्या. तो
आज यहाँ पे नेटवर्क बहुत खराब चल रहा है इसलिए.
हाँ, ये टेस्ट का स्पेशलिटी क्या है? क्वेश्चन नंबर 2, क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, टेस्टिंग ऑफ हाइपोथेसिस में करते क्या है? इज द क्वेश्चन क्लियर? ट्राई कर, नहीं तो पास कर. एनी वॉलंटियर, रेज योर हैंड. Another, please take over.
So first, in hypothesis testing, we need to know if something that is missing, that we need to know. So we usually have two alternatives where we verify a small or finite portion to draw conclusions. So that is done by t-test, which is the mean difference test. For an ANOVA, we need to analyze the variance. It is the analysis of variance where we have more than 2 groups or samples. There we use ANOVA and test the variance.
Well taken. Thank you. Rosalie and maybe Jyoti wanted to say something. Quick. Rosalie, 1 minute exactly.
So I can only tell about testing of hypothesis. In testing of hypothesis, we draw conclusions about the population based on the results of the test that is conducted on a sample, a small sample that is a subset of the population. This is the basic concept.
Can I summarize like this? We infer something, we conclude something on the totality, on the population, which we were not knowing earlier. For that, we take a small sample or larger sample, then test, verify against our thinking. जब मैं बोल रहा हूँ thinking,
so also the claims, sir.
सुन ले. Thinking का मतलब what I'm thinking.
Alternate.
On thinking.
Alternative.
Proposition, hypothesis. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
हमारा सोच. Okay. When you have some question.
Problem statement.
सुनो. अगर क्वेश्चन होगा दिमाग में, तो अब तो कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट करेंगे ना. आर गर्ल्स बेटर, ये क्वेश्चन आता है हम मन में. ओके, इज दिस ब्रांड बेटर देन दैट, इज दिस फर्टिलाइजर मोर इफेक्टिव देन दैट. अगर हम ये मेथड अप्लाई करेंगे, ये बेटर होगा, वो बेटर होगा. सो व्हेनेवर यू आर हैविंग सम रिसर्चेबल क्वेश्चंस thinking, you have got some initial supposition, proposition, which we call hypothesis. शायद girls are better is a soch, thinking, that is called a proposition. And for that, we go for a test. Okay? जैसे हमने बताया, why you are going for the checking of bike mileage? हमें डाउट है कि भाई ये नहीं होगा, शायद वो झूठ बोल रहा है. So that's why we are testing it. So that is one issue. There is a question. Along with the question and issue, you have your own thinking, your own search, which you are not sure, and you want to verify. Okay. So that's how we do in testing hypothesis. Testing hypothesis is a really very complicated thing. I'm trying my best to make it very simple, try to understand the conceptually, you should be clear. Okay. So I think
yes, sir.
With this,